Hi guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. As per usual, I have my wicked candle in here making the whole room smell like caramel apples. And this video is in collaboration with Dossier. So they have decided to work with me again, and they sent me two more of their perfumes. So this one is the fruity honey scent and this one is the citrus apple scent, and they both smell so good. All of the perfumes that I've ever worked with Dossier have all been really like fruity and kind of floral, and a couple of them have been like a brown sugar scent. So those are the type of scents that I go for, and every single perfume that they've sent me I've really liked. They all smell absolutely amazing and they are very affordable. They all retail for about $35 depending on the scent that you get. All of the ones that I got were about $35 retailing, so that's USD. So if you're in another country, then obviously it's going to be either cheaper or more expensive, but it's about 35 USD for me, and they all smell amazing. They all come in these really cute little bottles that have a magnetic lid, so it just snaps on, and I love the packaging. It's very simplistic, and honestly, they're just super cute. So now I have like 8 bottles of these perfumes, and my collection is huge, and I'm literally never gonna run out of perfume. So a little bit about Dossier. They produce classic high-end luxury scents at a fraction of the price, keeping the exact same high quality by cutting the expenses of the infamous brand tax. They have a risk-free system allowing customers to try the perfumes before committing to them. If they decide to return the scent, they offer a standard 30-day return period in which customer can return an unsealed 50 milliliter Dossier perfume and get a full refund, no questions asked. They are very affordable. They retail from $39 all the way up to $280, but like I said, all of these ones that I picked out were about $35, I believe. So they are very affordable in comparison to other perfume brands where I was paying upwards to like $110. So these ones are definitely my favorite. They have free returns and exchanges forever. They have great bulk deals on their website, up to 25% discount and free shipping up to 3 bottles. They're always adding new scents to their collections, and they're always thrilled to take suggestions from customers. So if you get a scent and you don't like it, or you wish that they had a different scent that they don't currently offer, you can always send them feedback, and they're always interested in hearing from their customers about what scents that you guys would want to see in the future. They are very, very affordable. They're one of my absolute favorite perfume brands, and one of the main things that I always talk about in these videos whenever I am talking about Dossier is the fact that they stay on my skin for so long. Whenever I use other brands, I find that I spray the perfume on and within a couple of hours, you can't really smell it anymore. Whereas Dossier literally stays on my skin and my clothes all day. I can spray it once in the morning, and when I'm going to bed at night, I can still smell it. So that is one of the main reasons why I love Dossier, and I love working with them. They are an absolutely amazing company, and they are very, very kind, and I love the fact that they want to work with me. So the two scents that they sent me are the fruity honey and the citrus apple. And the fruity honey is the notes of blackcurrant, green leaves, and honey nectarine. I'm not too sure how to say that. They also have peaches and vetiver. They're inspired by the Jo Malone Nectarine Blossom and Honey Cologne, and it smells really amazing. And the citrus apple is green apple, lime, cedrate. Middle notes are bluebell, jasmine, and rose, and the base notes are amber, cedarwood, and musk. And they are inspired by Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue for Woman. So if you know those brands or have used those in the past, these are really, really great options that you can try, and they may smell similar because they're inspired by them. So if you guys want to try out the Dossier perfumes, I will list my discount code here for you guys. I also will have it listed down below in my description box down below. So if you guys want to order some perfumes and you want to get a little bit of a discount from me, you guys can always use my code. I don't get any kickbacks from the code. It's just a code for you guys, so you guys can save some money. But all of the information will be listed down below, and it'll also be in a pinned comment down at the bottom and in my description box. So if you guys want to try Dossier, please feel free to use my code. And thank you so much to Dossier for collaborating with me again. I love the fact that you guys keep wanting to work with me. Your perfumes are absolutely amazing. And now let's jump into the video. Okay, so the story that I'm going to read is from my email. It is incredibly long, and it does get a little bit confusing at times, so I'm going to try my best to read through it and narrate it to you guys the best that I possibly can. But it's a very, very long story, and it's really, really crazy. So let's just jump on into it. Sorry ahead of time, I'm not that good with paragraphing, and this is super long. I've been watching your videos for over a month now, and I've watched every single one of your paranormal videos. I thought it was about time I send you one of my own stories. The events I'm about to disclose happened a while ago. I'm still not sure to this day what it was that we were dealing with, but I still think about it almost every day. I'm not exactly sure how to start this, but here it goes. Basically, my whole childhood, I remember hearing scratching, breathing, footsteps, and floorboard shifting, even when my family was all asleep. My family's home wasn't an old house. It was built when I was about 2 years old. I remember I would try to sleep alone in my room as a little kid, maybe around 4 or 6 at the time, and I would get so scared because I would see shadows shaped like people lurking over me. I'd tell my mom this, and she'd say that I had a strong imagination and I needed to get over it and be a big girl and sleep in my own bed and just say my prayers. Despite this, I begged her to sleep in my room with me so I wouldn't be alone. but I would wake up to her being gone. I would fall asleep peacefully and wake up in the middle of the night, and it would be like the energy in the room shifted. It would be darker than the dark in the corner of my room, even if she left the door open to crack and the hall light was on. This led me to be completely avoiding of this room in the dark and almost always staying at my grandparents' next door. My grandmother would always sleep next to me in their spare bedroom or let me sleep between her and my grandfather. Their house is also known for ghost activity, but that's another story. We used to speculate that all the activity in the house was because the house was built on a fairy patch. That's a common Newfoundland saying, but I'm pretty sure it's either Irish or English originated. Basically, it just means that it was built in a place with a higher amount of paranormal activity, and the land actually used to be my grandparents' potato patch. Nothing really happened from this time till about 6th grade. My parents always had a lot of mood swings, and there was always a lot of drama going on in the house, mostly between my mom and my dad, or me and my older sister. They talked about splitting up while I was in the 6th grade, and actually broke up for a month or so when I was in the 8th, and permanently broke up when I was in the 11th grade. I'm mentioning this because whenever they fought or separated, the activity would spike. I definitely think whatever was in our house was magnified and feeding off the negative energy. I started noticing a shift in energy in my family home in the 6th grade and a rise in activity. I found out later, after all the events here took place, through a spiritual energy reading, that this is when something was invited into our house. It was attached to someone my dad invited inside. I'm not sure what the spirits were, but apparently this ghost just took over and kicked the others out. It started with the mirrors, particularly around the new full body mirror I had inside of my bedroom door and the mirror in my parents' bathroom, which always warped your image when you were looking into it. It was like there was a weird aura around the mirror. It's hard to describe unless you experience it. You felt watched whenever you were around them, and eventually even when you weren't. Oh my God, I just got goosebumps! I was 9 or 10 at the time, but I remember the first time it happened. I was brushing my teeth and I stood a little too close to the mirror. After staring into it for a while, it was almost like my expression in the mirror changed in a sinister way. My eyes growing darker, meaner, and focused. A slight smirk starting on my face. It just felt evil, and I jumped back a little because it scared me. I tried to avoid that mirror, but I couldn't avoid that bathroom sometimes. Getting ready in the morning was particularly hard since my older sister liked to hog the main bathroom, and that's where I'd have to get ready for school. I just avoided looking into the mirror, and I checked my reflection in my bedroom mirror instead. I tried to push it from my head, mostly because I didn't understand what was going on. I just felt a little crazy, and no one else mentioned anything weird besides my sister agreeing that she didn't like that mirror, which is why she never used the bathroom. Side note, somewhat relevant, I would frequently see a lady in a white dress with dark hair and continued to for most of my life, usually in the corner of my eye or in my dreams. I haven't seen her in the past 2 years, but I would see her specifically when paranormal activity would act up. I thought at one point that she was the cause, but I did a past life regression, and apparently she's someone I knew in my past life who was trying to protect me. Okay, so back to the story. One day in 9th grade, I got brave and I went into my parents' bathroom while no one was around, and I glared into it and I said, "I know you're there, you don't scare me." I didn't fully understand what was going on, but I knew whatever it was trying to instill some sort of fear, and that angered me. I didn't like tiptoeing around mirrors in my own house. I was starting to get a little paranoid around all mirrors at this point, and I was fed up. Less than a week later, I went into my room and I noticed the same thing was happening in my own mirror. It was like I was being watched. A really, really intense vibe coming off of it. The same sort of aura I was talking about. You could see the energy, if that makes sense. I used to nap in there during the day, but never during the night until my parents separated when I was in the 11th grade. So I started doing that with the door open. At this point, it didn't increase the activity, but that didn't last for long. I forgot to mention, a year prior, I got a vanity for Christmas, and the energy was always really off with that mirror as well. I hated looking at it. I rarely used it for anything except to place things on, but that mirror really didn't have an aura at this point. It just gave off bad vibes from the start. In the 9th grade, I met a girl who was really into witchcraft, and she believed in the, I'm sorry if I say this wrong, Hellenic polytheism, which if you don't know is the belief of Greek and Greek gods. It's a religion. She told me she was a child of Hades and Nyx. I didn't have much belief in this, but I respected it and it intrigued me. We became friends, and I started to confide in her about the strange things that would happen in my house. She believed it was definitely a spirit, but she couldn't help me much more than that without being in my house to feel the energy. Unfortunately, I pretty much ended there for a little while until we became closer a couple years later, and paranormal things persisted and worsened with my parents' separation 2 years later. So fast forward to the 11th grade, my parents split up and I was hanging out with my friends almost daily. We're gonna call her Kate. Initially, my mother moved in with her parents and I moved in with her as well. My sister was living an hour away at university, and my dad was living at our family house with the dog. He ended up getting a job out of province, so I stayed at the house most nights, either staying at my grandparents' next door or staying at the house with Kate to take care of the dog and waiting for my dad to get back on turnaround. Champ, that used to be my dog's name too, oh my god, that's so cute. Champ was only a year old at the time, and he was a handful. He was a South African Mastiff, and my grandparents didn't want him staying over because he's a really large dog, and my grandmother had a lot of breakable things. We decided this would be best for all of us, and I would get the bus there from school, and if I wanted to go to Mom's when she was off work, she would pick me up and my grandmother would feed Champ before bed. During this time, since I was alone at the house and dealing with my parents' separation and the breaking up of my friend group, the activity increased drastically. The auras that I felt initially from only 3 mirrors was now spread to every mirror in the house. Shadows lurked outside the window, and I would wake up to lights turned on throughout the house, when I had them turned off before I went to bed. After a while, I started having nightmares and experiences even when I wasn't in the house. Kate told me that a spirit, whatever it was very negative, and it was feeding off my pain, and that it latched onto me, which is why I was now experiencing everything to the extent that I was, and why every mirror in the house felt off. The energy was insane. I felt watched constantly, but I knew it wasn't in my head because anyone who stepped into the house at that point told me that the energy was really dark. And if they were there for an extended amount of time, they would complain of weird noises, seeing things, and having nightmares. When my dad came home on turnaround, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, he couldn't sleep at all and would often go to his girlfriend's house because he told me whenever he slept in his bed there, he would have nightmares. He disclosed to me later that it was mostly dreams of everyone he loved dying and just weird things that he would never dream of normally. My dad often didn't even dream because he had a really irregular sleep schedule from working as first mate on fishing boats most of his life. Keep in mind, I told him nothing of what was happening while he was away, besides that I thought we had a ghost and that I always heard strange noises. In between all this, I would break up time while my dad was home by going to Kate's and staying at my mom's. The activity was at my grandparents' too. It followed me from my dad's, as I mentioned before, and all the venting sessions I would have with Kate started to backfire after the spirit latched onto me. It was always listening in, and I would have nightmares of whatever I said, or just things that would anger or upset me, and I'd wake up feeling drained every day like I didn't sleep. Like if I was with her complaining about how much time my mom was spending with her boyfriend and in abandoning me, I'd have dreams like that and wake up emotionally drained. And then she mentioned that the thing that was messing with us outside of the house might be an SW, and suddenly that plagued my dreams. When I was in waking reality, I just laughed and dismissed it because I don't live that close to the woods and it wouldn't explain what was happening to the mirrors in the house. I started having frequent nosebleeds, specifically in front of mirrors after this. At this point, whenever I walked in front of a mirror, it was like my own reflection was moving differently from I was in the corner of my eye. I got super paranoid around every reflective surface. I could see my mirror self stop copying me from the corner of my eye and my nose would start to bleed. This only happened when I was alone, like home alone or on a bathroom break. Whatever it was that was attached to me, it liked playing with my head and feeding on my energy. It'd be like the nightmares were coming to life, because before this even happened, I dreamt of it first. The first time it happened, it was right after I dreamt it. It was like I was watching myself in third person. I was walking around my house and I slightly looked away from a mirror and my reflection would still be in view and would stop copying me and start staring daggers at me and my nose would start to bleed. I'd look down in fear and I would turn to face the mirror and then I'd wake up. Once I woke up, I could feel the energy radiating off the mirror more than ever. I had my door mirror covered in a white blanket and my vanity mirror turned towards the wall and covered with a black t-shirt. I shook myself and got out of bed, walked out into the hallway, and at that moment, I stepped in front of a hallway mirror. My nose started to bleed. At this point, my dad was back to work and I was home alone at the house again. I was absolutely horrified. I had my grandmother come over and help me clean up the house, open up the windows, and try to clear out the bad energy. It didn't work. I tried praying like my aunt who's a medium told me to do, and it just angered it even more. I went around the house reading Bible verses with a candle, throwing around salt and sage. The lights were flickering while I did so, which started to happen pretty frequently anyway with no logical cause. I remember I heard a bang in another room and I laid the candle and Bible down to go see what it was, and when I stepped out of the room, the glass around my candle exploded. I noped the fuck out of there after that and told my friend I wasn't staying there again until she came and got rid of it because I knew she could. I had her researching whatever it was and trying to figure out anything she could. I begged her even to get Cjades involved to prove he was actually real, and she said it isn't that simple, he'd need something in return. I didn't know what that meant, but I insisted, and she told me she would as a last resort. I swear, I was done with it and I tried everything. I was even hitting together pots and pans and telling it whatever it was that was in my house to get out because it wasn't welcome to no avail. I thought that would work because of Witch Blur, which is a witch Tumblr page, but of course it didn't. Before it got that bad, I remember I tried to stay at the house alone multiple times when Kate couldn't stay over. I remember hearing banging on the outside of the house like someone was hitting it with wood. This repeated again with her there the next time she came over, and no one was outside. I remember being up late one night on a weekend, hanging out with my dog, eating, watching Supernatural. There was a dark figure lurking on our back deck. We live in a small neighborhood, everyone knows each other, and this would be really odd to say the least. I would hear whispering I couldn't pick up, footsteps, doors opening right in front of me, no wind, no logical explanation. I saw candles go out in front of my eyes, lights flickering, and my dog growling at nothing. Kate experienced a lot of this with me as well. Before we got rid of the spirit, I wanted to know what was causing all of this annoyance. So I invited Kate over to help me do a cleanse. Maybe her, as a witch, would be able to handle it better. She told me she couldn't make it over that week, but to try mixing salt with water and lining my mirrors with it because this would trap the spirit inside, possibly angering them, but still trap them. I believed her, and I did this. When she finally got a chance to come over and help me get to the bottom of whatever it was, we waited until it was dark and she told me to find her a candle and a lighter, so I did. She lit the candle and asked which mirror I wanted to check out first. I said the one in my parents' bathroom. So we turned off all the lights in the house, which I didn't want to do, but she told me that it was necessary to communicate with whatever was there to find out what it wanted. I agreed to it, and we proceeded to the bathroom. When we entered, she told me to stay very quiet. She held the candle up to the mirror, muttered something in Latin, and pressed her hand into the glass, closing her eyes. She started to describe to me that she saw two spirits, a little girl around 6 who was blonde and crying and scared, and beside her was a boy who was 16, dark hair and eyes. I didn't recognize anyone like that or know anyone that passed on resembling that. She suggested it may be my siblings, and I said I don't know, maybe. I know my parents had 2 children before me and my sister. But in hindsight, they would have moved on long before and they didn't resemble my siblings from what I heard about them. My father had blonde hair when he was young and so did my sister and I, but as his hair grew dark with age like ours. My deceased sister had passed a month before she was born and she was a brunette and my brother was a stillborn who was blonde. She was asking what was wrong and apparently she was trying to comfort the little girl and said, "You should know what he did." We were both very confused. Apparently, the he was my father and told us they were there because they were angry with him. I was super confused and I said, "What did my father do?" The only point where I directly spoke to the mirror or at what was in it, and right when the words left my mouth, Kate recoiled suddenly, withdrawing her hand from the mirror. She told me the girl screamed, a blood-curdling scream, and as soon as the words left her mouth, the candlelight went out. We just about shit our pants on the spot and hightailed it out of the bathroom as quickly as we could to turn the light back on. She explained to me that the spirits can do these things sometimes when they feed off our emotions and energy. She also explained that the spirits can present themselves to us however they want, and it's hard to know their exact intentions unless you're really experienced, especially if the spirit is powerful. I thought she was playing a trick on me somehow, but looking back, I have no idea how she would have done that. I'm naturally suspicious. We sat there talking about what possibly could have happened to attract these spirits and what it was or who it was, and composed ourselves before deciding to move on to the next mirror. She asked me if I wanted to stop, but I said no. I needed to know what they were and why they were actually here. This is where it shakes me to my core to this day. People don't believe me, but I swear on my life and I swear on Kate's life, on anything and everything I care about, this really fucking happened. Telling this story, I almost wish I could have taken a picture of what happens next, but at the same time, I could just feel the evil radiating from this image and I didn't want it on my phone or existence. Apparently, she'd been befriended a witch outside of town who had a lot of ancient knowledge and sacred books that she let her read as a baby witch and a confidant. In one of those books was a ritual. The ritual itself, I'm not sure why anyone would do it, but it included blood. Blood, a mirror, a candle, and apparently the goal of this ritual was to summon another part of yourself. As a disclaimer, I don't know much about the stuff or what she told me, but to go further into depth, she told me that there was a claim in one of these books that she read, a belief system or even legend of some sort. According to this Wiccan book, in order to manifest on the physical plane, your soul is divided into good and bad. Though they still heavily believed in polarity coexisting, they believed some people were so bad that their souls needed to be divided and the worst parts of them was trapped inside the mirror for safekeeping. Sometimes, however, the person in charge of this can mess up and trap a soul's benevolent self inside the mirror instead, letting their evil side loose onto the world unknowingly. Good idea in hindsight, I guess, but they can mess up badly sometimes. It sounds demonic in my opinion. I didn't believe that you could split your soul or that this other you was you. It had to have been something pretending to be you, right? My friend said she did this ritual to talk to and analyze the other side of herself, which was trapped to find out if she was the good or bad side. She described to me how it took place, which was essentially the other part of herself acting nice and complimenting her and her clothing, saying she was pretty, well-dressed. Then she started saying she could make her be popular and well-liked, and she could make her life so great if she just let her out of the mirror and merged with her. Kate laughed at this, and in turn, Mirror Kate got very angry and started threatening her and smashing the mirror from the inside out. She said ever since she did that, she felt different and that she was sure they merged somehow. She was connecting the dots because she felt I was a naturally born witch in her opinion. Maybe I somehow did something like this and I didn't realize. I have no idea how I could have done that, and neither did she, but it made sense that whatever I was experiencing was caused by another me. I sound crazy, but this is really how it went down. The second mirror, which was in a dresser overlooking my dad's bed, and we continued the process. This time, for some reason, she couldn't get a clear reading on what was lurking inside. It was like it was protected, like a blurry ink blob. She said the spirit was either really powerful, good at disguise, or didn't want us to know who or what it truly was. Or it was another witch spying on me and causing all of this. Chances of my dad pissing off a witch, since he's on the streets, probably high. But why was it targeting me if that was the case? Kate was getting a little tired, so we had a small snack and came into the room. I cannot stress enough that we were home alone, no one had access to this room, and even if they did, I don't know how this would have happened. I wouldn't know how to do it even if I tried. When we entered the room, Kate flicked on the light and froze in her tracks, staring at the mirror. I hadn't looked at it yet and I was a little confused. So I looked over too, and there was a handprint the size of a grown-ass man in black, almost like ink. It was really strange. It was like it came from inside the mirror. You could see the wrinkles of the skin, the pattern of the fingertips, and I was shaking. I was freaking out, pressing her to try to wipe it off. It was literally from inside the mirror. The mirror was like a dresser. There was no way of accessing the underside of the mirror. It was exactly where Kate had placed her hand trying to communicate with whatever was inside. I told her to take a picture and she kept saying no. I was like, well, you're a witch, haven't you done this before? And she shook her head no, like she was about to cry. I was like, okay, fuck, I need to know what's in my bedroom. We continued on into my room and she put her hand on the vanity mirror only for 3 claw marks to appear in the same way as the handprint. I didn't see this one, I couldn't look at it. I knew if I saw that I wouldn't want to sleep in my house ever again. All she had to say was she put her hand to it, and it was like a weird ink blob looking fuck from the last mirror in there, but now it was like an animal and it was growling. And I went on to a rant about how I was going to burn the whole fucking house down and the spirit could have it. Then I realized what I said and I was like, wait, no, you can't have this house. That wasn't an invitation. I felt like this was my final break in sanity. My friend then checked in with the other 2 mirrors. She felt the male mostly in the main bathroom mirror and my room mirror. She also checked the mirrors in my sister's room, which she said she really didn't like the energy behind the door and she wouldn't touch it for more than a second. She told me to burn it. I pressed her about it and she wouldn't elaborate. She then touched the other mirror, which was a hand-me-down from my grandmother, and that was the ink monster again. Somewhere in between all this, I was having a bunch of really scary dreams about a black humanoid thing with red eyes, and I would be green and covered in vines. My friend told me that whatever was there probably dragged me into the astral realm to fuck with me. About a week after the mirror talking incidents, I had a dream that an aura, like was coming out of the mirrors, was kind of see-through, but also a rainbow around the edges, if that makes sense. It was shaped like a person. It came into my mirror and walked towards me. It started to grab my leg, saying, "Let me in." I thought no with everything in me, but I couldn't move. When I said it about 13 times in my head, I could finally move, and the thing started to back up into the mirror. It replied, "Okay, I won't take over now, but you'll die when you're 26, and I'll take over then." I freaked out, and the next time I hung out with my friend, I made her come over to the house alone and deal with whatever it was once and for all. I have no idea exactly what she did, but I don't feel the presence around me like this ever since. Before she went over though, she said, "I'm gonna need to get Cjades to handle this. He said if he does this for you, he wants something in return. Not right now, but he'll come to you when he needs it." And I said, "Okay, anything, I just need this gone." And he was pleased with that. I asked her a little bit about it later, and she said it was just one random ghost, a man who was actually in his 30s, and she called him a loser, who was obsessed with me, and that Cjades threatened him so he wouldn't be coming back, even though he tried to after he warned him once. He said he thought he was smart enough to not come back the second time, waiting for Cjades to come to me for his favor now. It's been 6 years. I still don't know if what she was contacting was actually Cjades, or why that ghost or demon or whatever it was did what it did. Yes, to feed on energy, but to that extent, I'll never fully wrap my head around any of it. If I didn't have people to back me up on this, I would fully believe I had some sort of psychosis and needed to be hospitalized, since that's easier to understand than whatever went down in my house in 2017. She also told me that apparently those ink blobs were that spirit guide trying to hide its true form because she kept digging and to throw us off and to feed off the fearful energy he was creating. I know I said I don't understand what it was and what happened, and even though this was some sort of closure, I really can't process it in my mind. Like, it's not logical, but how could it possibly be logical? Having witnesses almost makes it worse because being psychotic would be easier for me to accept than how much this spirit can really mess with you and your head. It's horrifying. Just the ghost pulling our leg and pretending to be multiple spirits and the dreams and everything, I didn't even mention most of it because he actually had us fooled into thinking he was just a kid. Just her talking through the mirror at my grandmother's once, and we were asking the spirit a bunch of questions, and he was admitting to pretending to be all of the other spirits and just putting us in a loop. I've had experiences with other spirits since this, and they mostly just coexist and don't bother me. I have more stories that are a lot shorter than this, but I can group them into another email if you're interested in hearing more. Thanks for your time. And that's how they ended that story. So I have no experience with anything like that. I am so grateful I don't have anything with mirrors. I would freak out if anything like that even kind of happened to me, because that's fucking terrifying. I really don't know much about Wiccans or witches or that religion she was talking about where she got Cjades involved. Like, I really don't know anything about any of that, so I can't really talk about that. But it seems like you asked something for a favor, and now it's because it gave you whatever you wanted, it's gonna come back later and claim whatever it needs. And that's just fucking terrifying. Like, are you sure that you should have done that? I don't know. I have so many questions. I really don't know much about that religion though, so I can't really say anything, and I really don't want to offend anybody because I don't have a say in religion. Like, I don't know anything about it, but that's just really scary, and everything about that story freaked me out. I'm really glad though that it's been like 6 years and you haven't really been experiencing anything with mirrors or anything anymore, and it finally went away. But that is so crazy that you had such a intense and bad spirit in your house that it was manipulating all of the mirrors in your house and multiple locations, like it was actually attached to you. That's fucking terrifying. I am so sorry you dealt with that. That is so scary. I hate that so much. I love that you sent me a really, really long story. I love it when you guys send me really big stories like that, because then I only have to read one story in a video and I don't have to go searching for countless stories for you guys. But like, holy shit, I read that yesterday and like my jaw was like on the ground. I was like, what the fuck am I reading? This is terrifying. I can't even imagine going through that, let alone just me reading it being like, what the fuck? You actually experiencing that, and your sister experiencing it, and like your multiple family members experiencing it, and your friend experiencing that. That's terrifying. I hate that so much. I'm so glad you shared that with us, but like, holy crap, that's so scary. If you guys have any idea about that religion or have any idea about anything that she said in the story, please leave your guys' theories down below in the comment section so you guys can help educate me on it, and you guys can help just say what you think could have been happening in this house, because that's really scary, and I don't really know much about ghosts and relevant things like that. So that is a really strong entity, and I'm so glad that it's finally gone. I hope it doesn't ever come back, but that's so fucking scary. Thank you so much to Dossier for collaborating with me on this video again. I believe this is the 4th video that I have done with Dossier, so thank you so much. I love their perfume. If you guys want to pick up some of their perfume, you guys can use my code. Everything is listed down below in the description box, and it'll also be in a pinned comment, and my code will also be on the screen somewhere. But we are at a heat warning because we are at 30 minutes, so this is where I'm going to end the video. If you guys did make it to the end of the video, please leave me your favorite Halloween emoji. If you guys did enjoy this video and you want to send me your own personal scary stories, or even fictional stories, let's not meet stories, or just scary stories in general, please feel free to message me on Instagram, or you guys can send me an email, like that story was from my email. All of my information for reaching out to me is listed down below in a comment, and it's also in my description box. So if you guys want to send me some of your stories, I would love to read them. If you sent me a story in the past, feel free to just send me another message so it gets bumped to the top so I can definitely read them sooner. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye!